Hello everyone, it's Professor095 back with another deck profile of my updated Gear Chronicle deck. This deck is in fact my in real life deck as well. This is going to be the Post V Clan Collection Volume 1 and Volume 2. So Volume 2 to be specific. So this is going to be so this deck is going to incorporate some of the new cards in this deck as well. So without further ado, I will introduce to you my deck profile. So first things first, for my Great Force, I'm going to play Interdimensional Dragon, Chronos Command Dragon. The first skill is that when this unit is placed on Vanguard circle, you may counterblast one soul blast one and discard a card from your hand, and you have to return all of your rear guards to the bottom of your deck in any order. Look at the top 5 and choose any number from the 5 cards that you have seen, and you may superior call them and you may shuffle your deck. And the second skill is that when this unit's attack hits the Vanguard, you have to return all of your opponent's it's not you may, I think you must have to, your opponent must return all of their rear guards to the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is quite threatening second skill, but especially if it's on the first turn, especially if you're facing against very heavy spirit calling decks such as Gold Paladin, Royal Paladin, or any of those types. So they will be rather devastated if this attack hits. So most of the time I will not be spear riding this deck. I will not be like quote unquote striding this deck most of the time. So I think it's best if you play 1. Some gear players might play 2, but personally 1 is enough for me, and this only works best for me when I go first. So if I go second, I probably have to ride next stage, which the combo I'm gonna explain further down the road, right? But as you can see, Chronos Command Dragon has some of its great uses, particularly in the idea of like resetting your board. If you feel like some of the cards on your board just seems it's not really optimal, or if you probably want to call more rear guards as well, call free rear guards. So this is the card to go. So it's a free call as well. I wouldn't say free, of course you have to pay your cost, but you can get to call 5 potentially up to 5 rear guards at the cost of Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and to discard a card, which is quite good. So yeah, it's quite nice to like fill up your board as well. So this is like a pseudo mini Gold Pala deck, Gold Pala card. So it's quite nice as well. So if you can, yeah, so I probably have to play 1 of this card as well. So yeah, there's that. The second card, second Great 4 I'm gonna play is going to be Chrono Dragon Next Stage. A skill at the end of this battle, when it attacks a Great 3 or greater Vanguard. If your soul has a Chronojet Dragon, you discard 2 cards from your hand and retire himself from the Vanguard circle. Write a Chronojet Dragon from your soul as stand, and that unit plus 15k, and that Chronojet plus 15k, and you cannot write. So this is quite good as well. So I find myself when in grade 2, especially when I'm not in grade 2, but especially when I go second, being that both me and my Vanguard, my opponent's Vanguard is already grade 3 or higher, I can probably go directly to next stage and swing it for like a 25k, and then with next stage with Chronojet skill, with next stage skill, obviously you get to rewrite Chronojet, and Chronojet gets another imaginary gift, Forced. I play Force 1 in this deck, just to be clear. And then you can place on the Vanguard circle, and he probably can potentially be swinging for like a 53k. So you get attacked with this one for 25k, and then you can swing it with a 53k, which I'm going to explain the skill later on. But overall, I find this card helps me to like finish my games most of the time. If not, Chronojet finishes it for me, so it's quite nice as well. So yeah, I play 4, but some gear players I know they probably might play 3. Play 3 next stage and 2 Chronos Command. I think whatever suits you is fine. But personally, I like to play 1 to 4 because I find myself spear riding next stage most of the time. Yeah, so there's that. So that's all my grade 4s. So for my grade 3s, for my main grade 3s, obviously it's going to be Chronojet Dragon, the good boy Gear Dragon. So the first skill is a main phase skill. This is not like a right phase. This is not on like a auto at the beginning of your right phase. This is on your main phase. This is like the mechanic of gear is that you can strike, the quote unquote strike, which is like basically superior calling from your grade 4, but instead of doing it from at the beginning of your during your right phase, you can use the skill, or you can activate the quote unquote strike mechanic or the superior riding mechanic when you're in the main phase. So this is quite nice as well. So the main phase is that main phase skill. The first skill is that you may discard cards that are grade 3 or higher from your hand and discard it, and search your deck for grade 4 and write it as stand and shuffle your deck at the end of the turn. You may retire. You have to retire the grade 4 written and choose one grade 3 from your soul and write it as rest. And because of this, you can get another imaginary gift. So you write this Vanguard, you get one imaginary gift, force 1, and then at the end, and you activate the first skill, and then at the end of the turn you get to rewrite it and you get another imaginary gift. So so essentially at every turn you're going to get an imaginary gift marker every turn, so that's quite nice. So personally for me, I will stack it all to the Vanguard circle. I wouldn't be stacking to the Rearguard circle because thanks to the second skill, which I feel like is more pressuring this way. Second skill, Vanguard Rearguard circle. When this unit when this unit attacks the Vanguard, you may counter +1. During this battle, this unit costs 5k, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from their hand, which is quite dangerous, which is quite nice. I like it. It forces the pressure for the opponent to like whether or not they want to eat a lot of power from the Vanguard. That's just like potentially 50k or higher, especially after the next stage turn, especially after the next stage battle. So it's quite dangerous. It's quite scary as well. Imagine how scary it is if I were to play. If I have enough counter blast to spare, I could probably like put all 3 Chronojet Dragons in all of my front rows and then use the skill one by one, like 18k swing, you cannot Sentinel, an 18k swing, and then the last one could be the Vanguard, which is like probably like 53, 63, 73k depending on whatever turn it is, and then pressure it and seal off all of the opponent's perfect guard, and then hopefully you get the critical trigger on that turn, which is quite nice. It's quite pressuring as well, so if your opponent feels like they can't guard with this one, especially with a very low hand size, then this is probably the best way to go to finish the game. I like it myself, so yeah, 4 Chronojet Dragon it is. I'm going to play of that. So there's that. So moving on to my grade 2s, I'm going to play Steam Mechanic Nabu. The skill is that on the rearguard circle, when this unit attacks the Vanguard, you may choose one card from your drop zone and bind it. During this battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or higher cards from their hand to the Guardian Circle. At the end of the battle, you may put this unit into soul and draw one card. So I play this card primarily for 2 reasons. Number one, it's just that I need to guard restrict, and I can force out my opponent's triggers, force out all of my opponent's triggers to like guard, which is quite nice, especially like if you can combo this with next stage, is quite good as well. And also the second reason is that for the moving into the soul and you get to draw one card, this deck might need to use a lot of soul thanks to 2 cards I'm playing in this deck, which we will see later on. So I find that the souls are really necessary for me to like activate some of the skills. And the third reason being that the draw engine, I feel like this is a very good free draw engine, with like particularly binding a card from your drop zone, which is quite nice. So you get a consistent draw engine with this deck, thanks to Nabu, and you can fill up your soul, and yeah, so that's quite nice as well. The second grade 2 I'm going to play is Smoke Gear Dragon. Of course, if you're playing Chronojet, you can't miss playing this deck as well. This is going to be a Vanguard Rearguard skill. On auto, when this unit attacks the Vanguard, during this battle, this unit costs 5k, and if you rolled a grade 4 during this turn, you may soul blast 1 and you get to draw 1 card. Again, you can see why Nabu is really necessary, because I get to soul blast 1 and then I get to draw 1 card. It's quite nice. Also another consistent draw engine, and it's also a 15k attacker. a 15k bit stick, which is quite nice. You can swing this 15k, and yeah, it's quite nice as well. And second skill, continuous rearguard skill, and with your vanguard is Chronojet Dragon, all cards in your hand is essentially going to be a grade 3. So which is as long as Smoke Gear Dragon is on your field, essentially all cards in your hand is basically just quote unquote strike foders, just basically your Spear Riders, okay, and like possibly the cost for your Spear Riding, which is quite nice. And so yeah, that's a very nice cost, and there's a very nice skill to it. Of course, if it's going to be a very nice skill, I have to play 4 of this. Definitely run 4 of this. The third grade 2 I'm going to play is Team Skara A-Cup. A-Cup skill is that on the main phase, once per turn on the Vanguard Rearguard skill, you may counter +1 and discard a card from your hand and choose your Vanguard and get Strife +1. So potentially, if A-Cup is your grade 2, if you write your card as a grade 2, you can possibly use the skill and get Twin Drive, which is quite nice already. So you can also add some sort of pressure to it with like guarding for your opponent's guard stat as well. So it's quite nice for your Vanguard as well to get another extra drive, especially when you can combo this with like next stage getting a triple drive, etc. So yeah, it's quite good. And the second skill is that this is going to be continuous skill in your hand. When you be discarding this card, it will be considered as a grade 3. So again, another strike fodder, another cost for your Spear Riding, which is quite nice. As if you can't tell by now already, most cards in my deck can be used as like literally if there's any of the 3 cards, like if I have Smoke Gear, if I have Aircraft, if I have the next few great ones, this next great one I'm gonna play, this is going to be essentially like a free, like a consistent cost for you to pay to write either next stage or Chronos Command, which is quite nice. So like you can consistently write to grade 4 any turn without any problems at all. So it's super nice. So I will play 4 of this definitely. Yeah, so that's that. And moving on to my grade 1s is going to be Lost Gear 8. 8 is a good boy, so he's also technically also another strike fodder, and he's also a grade 3 searcher, which is quite nice as well. So on the skill, a skill is that when placed on the Vanguard Rearguard Circle, Vanguard or the Rearguard Circle from your hand, you may reveal a grade 3 or higher card from your hand, search your deck for a grade 3 and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you do, choose cards from your hand that is the total sum of grade 3 or higher, and you may discard it. And yeah, that's pretty nice. So if essentially the scenario works best like if you do not have a Chronojet in your hand, or if you do not have a grade 3, if you do not have a Chronojet in your hand, you could possibly like reveal, but you have a grade 4, or you have the Time Tracking Dragon, if you have the Hue Guard in your hand, you can possibly just reveal it and then find your deck for a Chronojet Dragon, put it into your hand, and you can discard the grade 4, or you can discard the Hue Guardian, which is quite nice. Yeah, it's also quite nice as well, and I think you can also combo this with Aircup as well, since Aircup's skill is also like this card may be discarded as a grade 3, and if like Smoke Gear is on your rearguard as well, on your field as well, I think it also works as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it's also a good combo, good nice levels of toolboxing. This deck has a lot of like toolboxing mechanics that you can possibly like fetch yourself like grade 3. You can discard a lot of you can discard a grade 3. You can possibly search yourself you can like have a lot of like draw engines with this deck, right? The second skill is continuous from hand, same like Aircraft skill. This card may be regarded as a grade 3 when discarded, so it's quite nice as well. So again, it's a consistent grade 4 superior ridings. Allows you to superior ride a grade 4 from your deck, or like quote unquote striding. I'm gonna use deck superior riding and stride as the same thing because it's a grade 4 riding on a grade 4, so it's so yeah, I'm gonna use those terms interchangeably just in case. Yeah, it's just basically Gear's mechanic as well. The next great one I'm gonna play is a Chrono Tooth Stiga. Chronojet Deck skill. When it's on the Vanguard circle at the beginning of your right phase, you get to draw 1 card. And the second skill is that when this unit is discarded from your hand during this turn, you may counter +1, draw 1 card, and you can Superior Call this card on your rearguard circle as rest. So there's a lot of reasons why I want to play this card. First things first is that this is the most ideal grade 1 you want to write, because at the beginning of your right phase you already essentially get to draw 2 cards, one from your stand and draw phase and the other one from this card skill. So essentially you get to draw 2 cards, which is quite nice. And the second skill is that you also get to have another consistent draw engine, and you can also get a free Superior Call, but only as rest. But that doesn't matter as long as I get another rearguard, free rearguard on the field as well. So it's also quite nice. As well for this one. So again, when he is discarded for the cost, I think there's a lot of combos you can do with that. You can combo this with Next Stage, you can combo this with Smoke Gear, you can combo this with Air Carb. There's like a lot of things that you can combo with in order for Chronojet Deck skill to get triggered as well. So yeah, it's quite nice. Definitely play for me personally. For my next grade 1 is going to be Steam Maiden Reboot. Reboot is definitely one of the best MVPs of this deck, because of her skill being that during your turn, when she is discarded from your hand, you may Soul Blast 1. She can Superior Call herself, and she can get 5k. So technically it's a 13k attacker or 13k booster depending on what your strategy is. So it's quite nice. And you may choose. And after that, you may choose a normal unit from your drop zone and return it to the bottom of your deck, and you get to draw 1. Again, thanks to the Soul Blast caused by Nabu, you can help it to refill. Like, you can possibly use Nabu's skill to help you to like activate Nabu's skill, Soul Blast 1, so that you have enough souls for you to like use her skill consistently, which is quite nice. And she can Superior Call herself and a 5k power, which is quite nice. And returning a normal unit from the deck is also quite nice as well, because you can return any normal units. You can even return all the Great Force Next Stage. So for example, Next Stage attacks your Vanguard. And Next Stage has to discard 2 cards. If you discard Reboot, that means that essentially you can Superior Call her. Reboot can Superior Call herself, and you can return Next Stage to the bottom of your deck. It's quite nice. So definitely a 4-off. I wouldn't want to play less than 4. So it's definitely one of the best things that you can play in this deck. Yeah. Moving on to my starter, Chronodran. Definitely. He's so cute. What a cute starter. So his skill is that when you write on this unit, you can draw 1 card, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 1 or higher, you may get a quick ticket. You can get a quick ticket shield, which is quite nice. So you get a 5k extra shield if you go second. So yeah, nothing special out of the ordinary except for the generic first Vanguard skill, which is quite nice. It's okay, it's fine. 1 is enough, definitely. Yeah. Second, now moving on to my triggers. First of all, definitely you're going to play Time Tracking Dragon. This is one of the best triggers that Gear Chronicle can ever get. This is possibly the best card, one of the best cards that Gear can get from this set, mainly because it's number 1 is a grade 3. It's a heal trigger and it's a grade 3, right? So of course you can combo this with like this is going to be your extra like strike foders. You can use this to discard like anything that requires a grade 3. So you can combo this with like Lost Gear .8, Air Carb, etc. Right? So if my gear deck wasn't as consistent before without this card, imagine how consistent now it is thanks to Time Tracking Dragon, which is quite nice. Of course, it's a 50k shield, which is like a minus 5k from your old heal triggers, which is at a 20k shield. But of course, the skills below can make up for the lack of like the minus 5k shield. So the first skill is that when this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle from your hand, if you did not write a grade 3 during this fight, as long as you did not write a grade 3 during this fight, you may activate one of these effects below. Only one effect, or you may only activate one of the effects below. So first one is that you choose all your Vanguard, and during this turn you have plus 10k, so this essentially helps you to like boost up your Vanguard to like a 20k. So this helps you to can like defend much against decks that can rush you. So they don't get to like rush you to death if you do if you can get to power up. So there's 20k. It's like you're in grade 2, you're sitting at a 20k Vanguard, which is quite nice. Your second skill is that you choose one of your opponent units, and during that battle, that unit gets crit -2. Essentially, what this means is that you can remove all of your opponent's critical, as in like if the opponent's attacks hits, if the opponent does not have any criticals at all, it does not really matter. No matter how, even if the attacking unit's power is bigger than my overall shield value, or like say 25k, like say for example 35k to a 25k, as long as the opponent does not have the sufficient crits, then I do not get a damage, which is quite nice. So which is quite good as well. The second skill is that when this unit is placed on your rearguard circle from your hand, if your damage zone is zero, you may choose the top card of your deck and put it. You may put the top card of your deck to your damage zone. Okay. I do not find myself using the second skill as often, so technically I often myself have to use on the first using on the first skill, which is much better. But I think the main reason for me to play this over Ururu over the normal grade 0 heal triggers is because it's a grade 3. So again, you can see this deck requires a lot of like a grade 3 to activate, with like especially when it comes to spear riding. So type tracking dragon definitely helps a lot. For my next trigger is going to be the draw trigger, which is the draw PG. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you may choose one card from your hand and choose one of your units that are attacked during this battle, and it cannot be hit. Until the end of the battle, that cannot be hit. So it's a perfect guard, and it's also a draw trigger. Again, I want to emphasize on the draw engine, consistent draw engine. Thanks to all of the consistent draw engines in this deck, I think I can get into like 9 to 10 cards in one turn, which is quite nice. I can get myself a nice level of defense. But alternatively, I've never tried this before, I haven't tested it out. But if you really want to play the Hard Thumb Worker or Tokidoki Worker as your sentinels for this one, go ahead. As a 30k shield, it's quite nice definitely, but I prefer like to draw trigger. I personally believe that this one is probably the best for me to play it. Yeah. And the triggers, Steam Bomber, Jiggle, and Ring Worker. I'm playing 8 crits in this deck definitely. I don't have, since this is a V era deck, and it's a force deck, there is no front trigger, so you're going to start with either 12 crits. You either start with 12 crits, or you're going to play with 8 crits, 4 draws, and 4 heals. So personally, I would like to go with like 8 crits. It's fine, definitely it's fine. But if you feel like you want to pressure your opponent with more levels of crit, I will not stop you. Build however you want. I felt like this is probably the most balanced deck I have seen so far. I probably could finish my game if I swing with Chronojet and then I get a crit. So yeah, it's quite nice. Yeah, there's that. Well, there's a few levels of combos that you can possibly like do within this particular deck. Like especially if you go second, if you have Air Cup, if you have Smoke Gear, if you have next stage on your field, you have to activate Air Cup's first skill, which is like you counter +1 and you get discard 1 card from your hand. You choose next stage, and next stage gets another drive +1, which is quite nice. And then you have to swing with Smoke Gear first. Smoke Gear has to swing with a 15k, and then next stage attacks your Vanguard. Say for example I do not get any triggers at all, that's fine. But I can discard 2 cards from my hand, which is going to be Rebull, and then I can Superior Right Chronojet, and he gets another imaginary gift force, and I place it on my Vanguard circle. It's quite nice. Rebull skill, thanks to the effect of being activated when discarded, she gets to Soul Blast 1, Superior Call herself, costs 5k. And if you have 2 of this, that means that you can also like call one as a booster, and potentially you can call one of them over Smoke Gear Dragon as a 13k attacker, which is quite nice as well. So you're swinging with 4 attacks in one turn, or like 5 attacks in one turn if possible. If you want to swing with rear, if you want to swing with your rear first, in the instance that if you get a trigger, you can probably like swing with Smoke Gear, swing with the Vanguard. You can possibly like swing with the Smoke Gear, swing with the Rear Guard, and then swing with the swing with next stage. You can discard 2 cards from your hand, Rebull, and Rebull gets to Superior Call on top of like Smoke Gear and Ear Cup, and basically all of them are basically 30k attackers, which means that you can increase your attacks level of number of attacks to 5 attacks, which is quite nice. Yeah, so that's that. Additional comments for this deck. I think this is a very fun deck. I think it's very easy to catch up if you know how to play the combos. Of course, these combos are very easy for you to catch up. It's not very difficult to learn. Personally, I love this deck. Of course, it's my main clan, it's my main deck, so definitely I would play this deck. I would love. I mean, this is possibly my real life. This is my real life deck. I already set it up this way, but feel free to treat it however you like. If you want to play this if you want to exchange Nabu for the cost of like, if you want to exchange Nabu for like Mono Module Dragon, which allows you to counter blast 1 and gets 5k 1 crit when a grade 4 is placed on your Vanguard circle, which is quite nice. But I realized that eats up a lot of my counter blast, and I felt like this deck really, for me, aside from Air Cup, aside from Chronojet, aside from Chronobite Tiga, which really needs a lot of like counter blast. I would possibly drop Mono Module Dragon and play Nabu instead, because I felt like she's more consistent this way with her superior calling, with her superior drawing, and like putting into the soul helps me to feel the soul, which is quite nice as well. Mono Module doesn't feel the soul, unfortunately, but yeah, so that's that. That's probably all for my deck profile for the day. I hope you enjoyed my deck profile. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and comment on what do you think you can possibly tweak it with a deck of my own. I don't possibly think that I might change this deck a little bit further when the new V-Clan collection comes out for Gear with the new Steam Maidens. I possibly need to play in otherwise, but overall this is possibly the best Chronojet deck I can build for now. So yeah, so if you have any problems, if you have like any suggestions whatsoever, you can feel free to comment below. So yeah, I think that's all for my Gear Chronicle Chronojet Deck profile. Without further ado, I'll end this video right here, right now. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys later. And this has been Professor095 signing out.